Welcome to the Cinematic Bridge, Filmmaking in Europe, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories of trailblazers who break boundaries between art, industry, and imagination. I'm your host, Charlie Shan, and I'm so excited to kick off our very first episode with someone who truly embodies the spirit of creative reinvention. Imagine this, a lawyer. Yes, a lawyer who swaps courtrooms for studios, contracts for scripts, and legal briefs for storyboards. Today's guest is not only an upcoming producer, but also a passionate champion of animation, international storytelling, and cinematic excellence. From admiring the craft of Hollywood's greatest filmmakers to building bridges between Europe and the heart of California's film scene, this is someone who followed a deep love for storytelling all the way to founding Pulp Studios. Please welcome the inspiring and incredibly dynamic Veronica Buide.
Oh, wow. What an introduction. Thanks you for having me as your first guest. It's such a pleasure and honor for me to be part of the Golden Gate family. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're thrilled to have you as our first guest. Let's dive right in. I've got to ask, how did a career in law turn into a passion for film producing?
Well, to be honest, my passion for the film industry came first. Since I was young, I've always found cinema as a way to be inspired and to learn new cultures, new places, new ways of living. Remember that internet didn't exist when I was young, so that's why cinema was my window to the world. No, um, when studying law at the university, I used to organize a monthly cinema forum activity for students, and I also organized a couple of shorts festival. So I was like super happy doing that while studying, not that funny topics in law school, as you can imagine,
So nobody
like
had,
Roman law, this kind of stuff, civil law. But
nobody had fun in my law school. Did anyone have fun in your law school?
not at all. But anyways, my best friend from that time, Reyes, she was my partner in crime, organizing these cineforum activities, and actually she's also doing cinema, but from a different perspective. She's works for the university, for the audiovisual film university in Galicia. So yeah, so some people were like us, not that many, but some people. Yeah.
But I think we should paint a better picture in a way because you didn't just give up on law, right? You became a full.
Well, for a period of time, I did.
Oh,
Yeah. So when I was finishing my studies, I did an internship in a law firm, and at that specific moment, I found out that that was not for me. I didn't like the way the lawyers worked in a small city at that time, in a very traditional and old-fashioned way. Everything in Spanish. You were taught to do things because, you know, um, I mean, it was a tradition to do in that way, and the innovation was not in any single piece of the path of becoming a lawyer. So I decided to, I wanted to travel, learn the languages, meeting foreign people. So decided to move first to Italy, then to UK. I studied there, I worked there, and when I came back, I started a master in international audiovisual business, and this is how all started.
wonderful. Now, it's such a big shift. Actually, we should probably do this story before we forget. So I was saying how when I went to law school, we had one assignment in a 3-year course that was creative, and I shone at it. I loved it. And everyone else, it seemed, was outraged. And I remember someone saying, we didn't come to law school to be creative. And it made me laugh and it made me feel a little maybe too superior. But did you have a similar experience?
Yes, I do. I remember having a teacher that who used to tell us, you are not here to think, you are here to just read the code and apply in the code. And I was like, well, this is not what I want to do in my life. And not me, but I don't think this is what lawyers or judges or notaries or these kind of people should do either. So it was like, okay, I started to think, no, this is not the right place to be. And the confirmation came when I was doing the internship, as I told you before.
I remember losing marks for creative thinking in my writing. And then I had to just start quoting, this is the judgment,
Exactly.
and it was this common law for me. So it was Lord Denning said this, so that's what's right.
Which is even worse because in civil law you have to just follow the code, but in the common law you have to create the law, no?
Wait,
Somehow. So because you have the framework, but you have to be more creative. In the civil law, it's not possible to do that, so it's even worse.
but
I
what's
mean,
interesting now is we're for people just listening, we are finishing an event here, and a lot of the people at the event have nothing to do with the creative side and are all to do with finance,
mhm.
taxes, law, permissions, regulations, and so we're two of the outliers who have a foot in both sectors, the creative sector, and then also for better, the business sector, I guess you could call it. And so what was supposed to be my following question after was, it's such a powerful shift to go from law to a more creative sector. Was there either a specific moment or a film that made you say, this actually is where I belong?
Well, I think I'm starting right now thinking this is where I belong. It was a long journey for me to understand, not to understand, to get used to be in two sides of the business at the same time, meaning that when I started working in the audiovisual industry, I was hired not for being a lawyer at that time, but for being a project manager mainly. So okay, my first work in the animation industry, in the audiovisual industry, was in animation, managing a very popular brand in Spain called Pocoyo. And I was managing Pocoyo as a brand. Actually it was a brand. We built the brand at that time around a TV series, and I was very good at managing projects and understanding the needs of the target audience and translated this into more contents, products, and life experiences, etc. And being a lawyer was like just a compliment, uh, because since I was a lawyer, I was the one in charge of managing the registration of the trademarks with our agents, managing the conversations with our external lawyers, because at that time we didn't have an internal lawyer, a corporate lawyer in house. So I was the one that talked to the our external lawyers to draft all the contracts, co-production contracts, licensing contracts, etc. So yes, of course, this was something on top of what I was doing at that time, that my core tasks. But the balance of the two sides of my brain or my heart, it was difficult to balance that. And I think now I am in the right moment, and because I've found the right balance for the two sides of my let's say career, brain, expertise. I don't know how to call it, but yeah.
Okay, that's great. Before I went to law school, someone told me, even if you don't, actually, two people told me, even if you don't become a lawyer, it'll still be helpful. And thank God that's true.
Hmm.
Because I found it to be true as well in my career. And then it looks like you as well.
Hmm.
Now, for people just listening, they don't really know you. Probably don't know that you're involved in animation. And before I get to a more specific question, don't you have some kind of group for animation? It's not just a love of yours.
Actually, I started working in animation by chance.
Oh, really?
That's yeah. Honestly, it was like that. I was what I wanted is working in the film industry, and my first job after the master, um, I've told you before, is was working in the regional government, managing or managing, helping the Galician producers to go to the international markets to promote their contents. And when being in one of those markets, someone approached to or met me and started, we started talking, and he was the CEO of Finkia, which was the production company that created Pocoyo. And he thought, okay, I am looking for a profile like you because you are a lawyer, but you speak English and Italian, and you are flexible but methodic, and I mean we just got on well, and he told me, you would be willing to move to Madrid, and I said yes, of course. So I started working animation because just by chance. That it was not my decision. It was my decision going there, but it was not on purpose. I mean, that meeting was just yeah.
Well, some people are saying, "Where's my break?" How did you get this break? Did you just go to an event, or how did you meet the person?
Yes, it was in an event in MIPCOM. It was at MIPCOM, attending MIPCOM, which is one of the most important markets for television content, at least in Europe. I think in the world. Um, so I met Victor, the CEO of Thinkia there, um, because we were under the same umbrella stand called Audiovisual from Spain, and I was representing Galician contents there. So we just start talking. Someone introduced me to him, and we start talking, and yeah, the magic happened.
That's really exciting because we're just at the end of a Golden Gate Films of marketing or networking event
Yeah.
here, and so it really shows the power of going to networking events. I mean, I've certainly met a lot of people, and I thought you loved animation from when you were a child because you do seem to have developed a love. Is that right?
Well, I loved film industry. I was not that in love with animation. Um, no, it was not the case.
But now,
No, no, no. I am absolutely in love with animation, of course, because it's so. I mean, you can do whatever you want. Of course, it depends on your budget always, but it's and so I mean, lately it's happening something that makes me very happy, which is that many grown-ups are watching animated content. This is not that was not was happening 20 years ago when I started in this industry. It was just mainly for kids, but now it's completely different. And after Guillermo del Toro saying in the Oscar award ceremony, animation is cinema, I think something, it was a shift also in the mindset of the film industry.
well, now it's been long enough that people have grown up with Toy Story, Shrek,
That's right.
that if people saw it either as a parent or as a
That's
child or
right.
as a grandparent and so animation now is mainstream.
Absolutely.
Is that a tie-in with Pulp Studios? For someone who's listening and has no idea what Pulp Studios is.
Well, this is my next big project. At a certain point, because I've been consulting um, as an independent. I've been working as an independent consultant lately, like 3 years ago, helping production companies in Spain, in Italy, in Colombia, in Canada to build their IPs based on books, based on audiovisual content, animation mainly. But at a certain point, I felt that I wanted to be more involved in the projects I loved, and I was consulting. So I thought the best way to do that is creating my own production company, and apart from consulting, also producing the content. And this is something I've been I mean, I've been working in production companies for 20 years, so I know how to do it. So I want to do it myself.
Great. And so we have that in common. We're talking about bridging, you know, America and Europe.
Mhm.
And it's an interesting thing. There's just different cultures.
Sí.
Obviously, cinema and film speaks to everyone, regardless if it's translated or not.
Mhm.
But can you talk about, yeah, taking it international? What's involved? Why is it so fascinating? Why did so many people show up today to talk about it? And for people who are just interested in going international, should they be optimistic? What should they expect?
Well, that's a
One at a time.
interesting question.
My fault.
Uh,
I asked too many questions.
no, that's fine. We'll go step by step. So bridging, no, I love that word. By the way, uh, in my opinion, for me, the best part of my job is working with people from different countries and different cultures. It's so rich. I mean, my life is much richer because of that. My personal life and my professional life. Um, and I think that, of course, you have to be very flexible, very empathetic.
Yes,
Yeah.
empathetic.
Um, because working with different cultures sometimes is hard. Uh, because of course you don't have the same. Even though you speaking English, more or less, but you speaking English, the way you communicate verbally, orally, or with your body is totally different. In Korea, I work with Korean people, with Japanese people, with Colombian people, with Turkish people, with people mainly from all over the world, and it's difficult, but it's so. I mean,
So I see animation as being really international, so you can't escape it. Like animation out of Japan, you can't ignore.
no, so that's a good point actually, and also because the budgets are so high for doing animation that you need to co-produce international. At least if you are based in Spain, maybe if you are, of course, if you are Disney, you don't need that. But or you are based in North America. But if you are based in Spain, you need to co-produce.
People are talking about how it's too expensive now in California, and they're starting to look at places like the UK, Ireland, Spain, etc.
That's a very good
So it's
news for me. Yeah, actually, I'm right now partnering with a Canadian producer to produce animation content for kids between Canada and Spain, also with American producer, so with Italian as well, with Colombian. So I think, I mean, this is the best part of my job is, you know, being able to know different cultures, working with different people, and also learn myself. Because of course, when we work with Spanish people from Spain for a Spanish target audience, you learn, but just a little bit. When you know work for a broader audience with different people from around the world, I mean, your vision and your life is so
much bigger.
much bigger. Yeah,
I would have to agree. So you should expect difficulties, but then you should also expect a richer experience and then more possibilities because you're opening
exactly.
the amount of collaborations you can do.
Exactly.
Now, let's talk about storytelling because animation, live action, something that's going to work has to have a good story. At least I think.
Mhm.
Would you agree or disagree?
I do. Agree. 100%.
What do you then look for? What's a captivating story that makes you want to do a project?
Well, I would say that first of all, I need a story to be meaningful. Uh, Meaningful meaning there is a message behind you want to, deliver to a specific audience. Might be kids or adults or women or I don't know, other different audiences, but it has to be meaningful for me, according to my values and no,
So you
and my
read
beliefs.
you read a script first. You don't just say yes.
Of course, I read.
It's just a
Of
joke.
course,
Now that ties
I
into my.
mean, this is a very strange question.
The people are actors are always whenever they're asked like why did you do this and they always say like oh well I read the script and I loved it.
Yeah.
But then from someone who's trying to make it, they're always trying to get people to read their scripts. And
No,
so
I need to feel something
yeah.
when I am reading a script. If I don't feel anything at all, I don't want to be part of it.
Yeah, and so then your advice to someone writing a script for a producer that's saying please make my work is have the story move me. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And reading is tying into our legal background. Does your legal background influence your work as a producer?
Absolutely. Sometimes for the good and sometimes for bad. Not for the bad, but I sometimes I feel myself more conservative in the sense that okay, oof, this might, we need some clearance of rights here. I mean, I read a script with also eyes of a lawyer. So sometimes it's like I have to get rid of it and read it twice or three times just to go to the essence of the storytelling. After I finalized the other legalities and everything. But yes, I think it's positive at the end of the day because I mean, you are more confident if you find the potential issues in a script and you can just address it in a mm, better way or a more safer way, let's say.
So then, is it safe to say you think more creative producers should understand both the legal and the business side?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's super important because you know what? What I usually find when I start working with a production company is that the chain, I mean, the chain title is not there.
Oh,
Yeah,
so they didn't pay attention to that at all.
no.
Well, then,
In independent producers, I mean, in
right.
small producers, independent producers, usually they are not aware of the importance of doing a solid chain of title. Uh, and this is the first thing I do. The first thing I do when I'm consulting. Uh, and yeah, if the creative producers were trained, to pay attention to this not particular thing, they would be more successful. They would not have that many problems in the future or because sometimes it's difficult to go backwards
Oh, yeah.
and get it you know
Do you-
done. So
is there enough material for a chain of title podcast?
I think so.
That could be really
Absolutely.
interesting. People
Absolutely,
who,
let's do that.
a lot of people actually wouldn't want to listen to it, but really should.
That's
Because,
right.
you do a legal podcast and 99% of the world would rather listen to anything else. But that 1%,
But it's
uh,
super important for a creative producer. Yeah.
well, can you imagine doing, I guess this happens. You do an enormous amount of work, you're super invested, and then you can't do it. And had you just done your last step first,
Yeah,
you could be producing.
exactly.
Now, I tend to think of the person who has, the blank page and they don't know where to start. So the question for you is for them, what kind of stories do you think the world needs more of right now? Like, what would you recommend someone who doesn't know what genre or what type of story?
Well, I think we need more meaningful content for kids. Um, Helping them to understand that the world is diverse and the equal opportunities is the key for a better world for everybody. And I think kids, that's why also this is all another reason why I'm in the kids industry as well, mainly in the kids industry, is because kids are the future and are the ones that are going to be ruling this world in the future. And they need to feel the need to be fairer and to pay attention to the people in need.
Yeah,
So I think this is super important, and these are the kind of products I want to produce.
great. And then you've now thinking about it, it's one of my favorite genres is animation for kids. You had Avatar, which was huge, Dragon Ball, which is enormous. But then when it comes to collaboration, I'm wondering, do you have a dream collaboration with potentially studios, directors, or creatives? Is anyone you'd love to work with? Are there-
Not really, and I'll explain you why. Uh, because what it matters for me the most is finding the right people to work with, finding that they are family, they are honest, they are like me, and they want to change the world, which is a very big uh, goal, but at least a little bit, a little bit, at least around us. And I need to feel that regardless of who is or how, if this person is famous, important, or has done 3 movies working for Disney. I don't care. What
Okay,
I
great.
care is that we share the values and the vision, and this is what I care, and this is what I'm looking for,
Okay,
like
great.
Golden Gate, for example.
Wonderful. Now, for European filmmakers or producers, that I assume, I don't know, I'm from Canada, but like, let's say they're dreaming in Europe about working in Hollywood.
Hmm.
What would you tell them?
I don't know if this is the right dream. Honestly, sorry to say that. Maybe it's not politically correct, but well, it's a dream because it's mm, of course it's I mean it's the first league of the film industry. But I would say that the dream should be doing good content to meaningful content again to the right people. Or but not working in a specific venue, in a specific environment, in a specific, place. But this is my personal vision, of course. Maybe, of course, I know people that their dream is going to Hollywood, and it's, of course, I respect that, obviously, 100%. I don't share that vision. I don't share that dream.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I
I don't know what to tell them because I don't feel that need, or that I've never had that dream.
Okay. Well, it's worth mentioning a lot of big American producers have the same international vision, and they'll produce where they can produce that's best. And so I know there's a big production in Italy now. I know people are going to the UK. So it's not as localized or centralized as it used to be.
The thing I admire of the American industry, the American film industry, is the way they approach the financing. Uh, uh, More focused on private financing rather than in public financing. And I think we have to change in Europe to be more competitive, um, and more attractive for investors as well. So this is something I would like for the European industry to, you know, to move forward.
Yeah, yeah, learn from that. Great. And now, before we wrap, is there any advice you'd give to anyone more generally? So maybe they're in a corporate office, kind of, it seems like both of us were in an office, and they thought, I want to follow my passion, and they don't know where to start.
Hmm.
Anything you would say to them? Because we were obviously in the same position.
Oh, wow, this is a very big responsibility. What I would say that many people talk about um, set, how to say no, learn how to say no, and set your boundaries. But I think it is even more important learn how to say yes, meaning that maybe you have to just jump to an opportunity even though you are not ready enough or you are not 100% sure that you are going to succeed. But if you don't try, you fail, um, for sure. So I think the the my advice would be just jump. Uh, let's do it, no? Or at least try, and then you decide, no? But at least try.
Yeah, generally you say no to the wrong things and yes to the right thing.
Well, this is a learning path. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, This was great. Thank you very much, Veronica. And thank you so much for joining us and kicking off this podcast with your passion, your journey, and your belief in the power of story. To our listeners, that's you. Thank you for tuning in to the Cinematic Bridge, Filmmaking in Europe. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave us a review. We're just getting started, and there's so much more creative crossover to come. Until next time, keep